I woke up every morning at exactly 6 o'clock. It was a habit I could never break, even though I no longer had anywhere to go. My husband used to say the world belonged to people who rose early. Once I believed him. Now, mornings only reminded me that I was still here, and he was not. The bed felt wider with every passing year, and the silence in the house pressed down on me heavier than any blanket. When Daniel died, people came with flowers and warm meals. They said gentle things, words meant to comfort, though I no longer remember them. After a few weeks, they stopped coming. Everyone returned to their own lives. I was left behind, with his coat still hanging by the door, his slippers tucked beneath the chair, and a heart that could not understand how to keep beating without him. I survived by creating rules. Every morning, I walked to the corner shop at exactly 8. I bought the same bread and the same milk. I checked prices even though I had enough money. It gave me something small to focus on, something that felt like control. The people on my street changed over the years. The young ones moved away. The older ones passed on. New families arrived with loud cars and unfamiliar habits. They parked carelessly, played music late at night, and left rubbish outside. I told myself I didn't care, but I noticed everything. Some people called me difficult. I preferred the word careful. My life became a quiet schedule. Mondays were for washing clothes, Tuesdays for cleaning windows, Wednesdays for paying bills. I spoke only to the cashier at the shop and sometimes to the gray cat that slept near my back gate. I told myself I was fine. People talk too much about happiness. It isn't something you find. It's something you stop expecting. Then, one cold morning in November, a moving truck arrived next door. I was standing by the window with my tea when I saw it. A small family stepped out of a silver car. The man looked confused. The woman held a baby, and 2 little girls ran around shouting with excitement. I sighed. New neighbors meant new problems. I told myself to stay away, yet I watched them from behind the curtain. They were loud and clumsy. The man dropped a box, and one of the girls laughed so loudly I spilled my tea. They looked painfully alive. That night, their laughter drifted through the wall. It had been years since my house had heard laughter. I turned up the television to cover the sound. The next morning, as I cleaned the path, one of the little girls waved at me. She had missing teeth and hair that refused to stay neat. I wanted to ignore her, but she waved again. I gave a small nod. She smiled as if I had given her the greatest gift. Children were strange. Later that week, I saw the woman struggling with a flat tire. I watched from behind my curtain, telling myself it was none of my business. But she looked lost. I remembered how Daniel used to fix things without being asked. Before my mind could stop me, my hands were already reaching for my coat. She looked surprised when I spoke. She thanked me many times. I said it was nothing, but inside it didn't feel like nothing at all. Her name was Elena. Her husband was Michael. The girls were Sophie and Clara. I learned their names without meaning to. I told myself I wasn't interested, yet I noticed when they came and went. I noticed the chalk drawings in their yard, the sound of the girls laughing. I remembered how Daniel once spoke about having children. We never did. Life chose differently. One evening, I found a drawing pushed under my door. It showed me standing beside a cat. Above it, In large, uneven letters were the words, "To our kind neighbor." I smiled before I could stop myself. I placed the drawing on the fridge. Winter grew harder. The days felt shorter. I tried to ignore the ache in my chest. Months earlier, I had made a quiet plan. I had written the letters, one to a lawyer, one to the neighbors, and one to no one at all. I thought about them every night, but something always interrupted me. The sound of children next door, a knock on my door with a bowl of soup, a half-fallen snowman in the yard. Small things, thin threads, keeping me from drifting too far. One afternoon, Elena knocked on my door. Michael was in the hospital. Not serious, she said, but she needed someone to watch the girls for a few hours. I wanted to say no. I could barely take care of myself. But she looked exhausted, and the words never came. The girls filled the house with noise and color. They touched everything, asked endless questions, and drew hearts on scraps of paper. I made them tea with too much sugar, and they said it was perfect. When Elena returned, she hugged me and called me wonderful. That night, the house felt warmer. I took one of my old letters, folded it carefully, and placed it back in the drawer. For the first time, I didn't want to finish it. The next morning, I woke before the alarm. The house was still quiet, but the silence felt softer. I opened the curtains and saw the girls waving at me from the yard. I waved back properly this time. They shouted my name, after so many days of nobody saying it. I smiled. Then I laughed, and it felt strange, but right. From that moment, things slowly changed. I helped Elena more often. I watched the girls. I fixed small things around the house. I walked the neighborhood again. I noticed the smell of bread from the bakery, the sound of children playing, the old man who fed birds in the park. Some days, the grief returned without warning. I let it come and go, like waves that never drowned me. Spring arrived. I planted flowers Daniel once liked. I repaired his old radio. Music filled the house again. When the council planned to cut down the old oak tree at the end of the street, I wrote a letter. For the first time in years, I used my voice. The newspaper printed it. People thanked me. They saved the tree. And somehow, they saved me too. The girls called me Miss Eleanor. Sometimes they called me Grandma by accident. I never corrected them. Love never returned loudly. It returned quietly, in laughter next door, in shared meals, in small hands reaching for mine. Years later, when the oak tree burned and we planted a new one, the girls named it after Daniel. I cried, not from pain, but from love. I tore up my goodbye letters and threw them away.
Life did not return to what it once was, but it became something else, something warm, steady, and alive. That night I sat by the window with my tea. The street was calm, the light was soft, the cat slept on my lap. For the first time in a long time, I did not feel lonely. I felt home.